You might be thinking about traveling outside of the state of Michigan, but stay tuned to this program and learn more about the secret gems right here in Michigan. Pure Michigan. I'm sure you've heard that term before. And for those of you who live, work, reside, or visit Michigan, you want to stay tuned to Real Possibilities because we have Nick Nurbin here who is going to tell us more about Pure Michigan. Thank you so much for being with us today.
That's great to be here, Paula. Thank you for letting me come on and talk about Michigan.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And there's so many beautiful places to visit in Michigan, and people don't often know all the different what I call secret gems that there are in this great state. But you are responsible. Well, tell us a little bit about your job and what you do and what Pure Michigan is for the one or two people out of the thousands who are listening to this program who may not know.
Well, first of all, yes, we have so many hidden gems across the state of Michigan. And I always say, I continue to find new places and new experiences in the state, which I've spent many years of my life exploring the state in detail, and including the last 8 years doing it professionally. Wow. And there are so many places to discover. At Pure Michigan, so we are Travel Michigan. We're part of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. So we are the state's tourism office. We promote travel opportunities across the state from here in Lansing, all the way up to the western UP and the tip of the Keweenaw Peninsula, down to Detroit and back over to Lake Michigan, down in the corner in the southwest state part of the state. So what we do is we help people discover those hidden gems. We want to highlight some of our flagship experiences, whether it's Mackinac Island or downtown Detroit and some of the wonderful things happening in the Motor City, all the way to our rural communities. So we help people discover those opportunities, whether they're from somewhere here in the state or somewhere in another country.
Well, I want you to explain how you help them in a moment, but tell us, what's the most visited location in the state of Michigan, or is there one? Where do people frequent most often?
Well, the number one destination is Detroit. You know, we have an international airport that brings people from around the world into the state of Michigan, and the city of Detroit is a flagship destination. And also, when it comes to other destinations that are very popular, like Mackinac Island is obviously, they call it the jewel of the Great Lakes. You know, nearly a million visitors a year visit Mackinac Island. So many different places across the state.
And people forget about our farmland or agriculture here too. Then just the rural parts of Michigan, people want to get away. Just going to some of the rural parts of Michigan can also be very peaceful and just get you back connected to nature again. So you know all those places.
Yeah, agritourism has become a huge thing, and families are really getting on board with it, especially when we talk about fall tourism, where we have the cider mills, the pumpkin patches, the corn mazes. Really, farmers in Michigan have really added tourism to a lot of their agendas.
Well, you are the person that we all want at our kitchen table when we're talking about traveling in 2024.
Give me a call anytime. Happy to provide suggestions.
So how do you help people discover these wonderful places in Michigan?
Well, those who are familiar with the Pure Michigan campaign may remember the tagline, "Your trip begins at Michigan.org." It's been part of the campaign for almost 20 years now. We launched the tourism campaign for Pure Michigan in 2006. We're coming up on our 20th anniversary here into the next
20 years?
Yeah, 20 years the campaign's been around.
I remember when that was launched.
It's been extremely successful. So in 2009, Forbes named the Pure Michigan campaign the #1 tourism campaign of all time.
Wow.
So not just that year or in recent years of all time. So that was a great honor for the campaign, but it continues to be extremely successful. Wow. So in 2023, the campaign was directly responsible for inspiring 1.5 million visits to the state of Michigan, which resulted in $2.1 billion in tourism spending here in the state. So a big impact on the economy as well.
And people don't often realize that the impact that travel and tourism has on our great state. We always talk about auto industry and other industries in hospital, medical, and that's wonderful, but tourism is huge. I remember being in Hawaii and seeing the Pure Michigan ad in Hawaii. So it kind of made me want to go back home, and I'd only been there for a week. So it's really been very, very successful. It was started under which administration?
It started back in the Granholm administration, and then Governor Snyder continued that to support it, and now with Governor Whitmer, she's been a great ally as well. So we definitely are appreciative of all our support over the years, and really with the success. And you talk about economic impact, it's nearly a $50 billion industry here in Michigan, $48.5 billion in total economic impact, and $26.5 billion in annual spending by visitors across the state.
Wow.
And so for small businesses in some of our rural communities, some of them depend on tourism. A lot of our rural communities have seen growth because of tourism, and it continues to be an important industry.
Wow. So when you are trying to advise businesses in terms of where to go for conferences and conventions, you go all over the country to try to bring them here? Do you recruit everywhere, or is it primarily here in Michigan?
Absolutely. So we actually, internationally, so we have specific efforts where we have contacts and representatives in places like the UK and Germany who bring in international tour groups, international meetings. And it works in conjunction with the team at Michigan Economic Development Corporation who are looking to bring in business and talent to the region from across the country and around the world. So we do visit conferences and events. We have an entire team dedicated to try to bring meetings and events. And we've had such success with large-scale meetings and events. Like if you might remember that last April, the NFL draft was held in downtown Detroit with 775,000 people visiting the draft. And that doesn't count the additional folks that were in the city and were not able to attend the draft or didn't plan to go into the draft footprint. So a major economic impact of nearly $165 million just on that one 3-day event, which really lasted over about a week, but also brought a lot of visibility to the city. And a lot of people are really interested in coming to see Michigan and the Motor City.
And not only corporations, we had a friend here over the weekend, Kenny Larry, who'd been here for a week, and he is with Augusta National, where the Masters is a member there. He wanted to go to Boyne. He golfed in Boyne. He'd never been to Michigan, went to Boyne. And before he left, he wanted to go to the Detroit Motown Museum. So, I mean, it's not just businesses, but people from other states want to come here and see some of the highlights and some of the major attractions here in Michigan as well. So what would you say to people that if they're coming in Michigan, what should they absolutely make certain that they see?
Well, I wanted to just share a story. I would love to tell this to your friend. And first of all, give me his number. I'd love to play Augusta sometime. But no, I lived in downtown Traverse City for a number of years, almost 20 years. And one day I was down along the waterfront of the city, and I saw some Asian gentlemen along the waterfront, and I said, "Hey, how you doing today?" And they indicated they weren't able to understand me, and one of the gentlemen who was the interpreter said, "Oh, hi." And I said, "Hi, well, welcome to Traverse City. Where are you visiting from?" And he told me they were visiting from Japan. They had come to Detroit in that region for business meetings, and they wanted to see Traverse City. They were from Japan, and they knew about Traverse City and wanted to see Northern Michigan, in addition to seeing all the great things in Detroit. So people are aware of the beauty and the diversity of tourism experiences here in Michigan. Now, when someone asks me, what's the one thing?
Yeah.
Man, that's a tough answer. That is a tough answer.
I've got get in trouble list if you answer that, right?
Exactly. I've got a long list. I will say, just continuing to talk about the visibility that Detroit has happened as a gateway to Michigan, that there are so many wonderful opportunities because of the continued economic resurgence in downtown Detroit. We have all 4 major sports teams downtown, wonderful events like the Movement Festival, that is electronic music festival, Detroit, the birthplace of techno. It brings people from all over the world. But honestly, get out and see the Great Lakes. That's my main piece of advice for people. We are the Great Lakes state. We have coastline on 4 of the 5 Great Lakes, the only state with more than 2, really. Yeah. But we have over 3,200 miles of Great Lakes coastline.
Wow.
Our beaches are on par with anything in the world.
Wow, that's fantastic. So talk a little bit about how people can navigate. You said there's a website that they can go to. What do they need to do to plan, or just go to the website and what pops up? I know the website's on the screen, shown on the screen now, but what is on the website? What do they need to do?
Once again, your trip begins at michigan.org. Yeah. When we talk about a specific season, like fall, for example, if you go to michigan.org/fall, there are trip ideas, there are itineraries. If you're interested in fall scenic drives, you can find an article about scenic drives during the fall so you can experience the fall colors. If you're interested in coffee shops, there'll be an article about coffee shops. If you want to go to cider mills, we've got a great article about various cider mills to experience, to go, pick apples and enjoy some of the fall atmosphere. So we try to create itineraries and suggestions for all seasons. There's even a fall bucket list, for example. And as we move into winter and we look at the winter season, there's wonderful opportunities to discover winter sports, also museums and other things that are more popular during the winter. So we try to create experiences that give people ideas to discover something new.
And one of the things I learned recently, Nick, was in Grand Rapids, all the breweries that are in Grand Rapids, the beer breweries and different types of breweries that are around. And there are people who just like going from brewery to brewery. I'm not a beer drinker, but there are people who just enjoy going. There's just so much here that people don't realize they can take advantage of. So when we talk about the $50 billion economic impact that this industry has just here in our state, are you finding that more people are traveling, Michigan residents are traveling within Michigan, or more people are coming from outside of the state into Michigan? Or is it a little bit of both? I mean,
travel has grown in both areas there. I think within the state, people have a lot of pride for our state who live here in Michigan. And an example with Grand Rapids, with nearly 80 breweries in the region, it's Beer City USA. It's been voted Beer City USA multiple years because of the fact of the high concentration, but also the high quality. There's a very passionate community of craft beer enthusiasts who they really want to see unique experiences, try different flavors, try different opportunities. And Grand Rapids not only has some of the best breweries, but also great events. They have the Winter Beer Festival there, which draws like 5,000 people annually, among other beer festivals. So people come to Grand Rapids not only to experience the great breweries, but the culture, the great restaurants downtown, and the beautiful scenery along the Grand River. But when it comes to where tourism is growing, tourism after, following the pandemic, there's a lot of pent-up demand. People wanted to get back out there and travel. And we think that now people really put more value, and our research has shown this, on experiences rather than material things. That was a trend that was emerging in millennials and Gen Z, but now across the board, travelers say, I'm putting a greater priority on travel with my family and friends. So travel is more important than ever.
I'm going to stick with the Grand Rapids breweries just for a moment. Here at AARP, we have a wonderful Associate State Director. Her name is Jennifer Firestein, and she's created this tour where people can go from brewery to brewery. She connects with the breweries and our older adults.
Sounds fun.
That's our 50 plus, and it's so successful. They can go, they can socialize, they can talk with each other. We take 10 to 15 minutes to tell them a little about AARP, and then they can enjoy, the beer of their choice. But it's a nice way to connect with people, and particularly you talked about COVID when people were so socially isolated. Just getting out to some place, whether it's the lake, whether it's the Motown Museum, whether it's Boyne or whatever, just getting out and connecting with other people. It's just a good way to kind of re-energize yourself and feel good about this great state again. Not again, to feel good about this great state. Not again, because you should never have not felt good about this great state. But I want to chat a little bit about accessibility. There are some families who struggle with, is it going to be handicap accessible? Are my children going to be able, if I have a child who has, or a mother or grandmother or whomever, talk a little bit about accessibility for the work that you do, within the work that you do.
One of our most important things that we do at Travel Michigan and in the MBDC, we want to ensure any traveler that all are welcome in Michigan. And that's an all-encompassing statement. And it might be different ethnic backgrounds, locations, ages, whatever it is, including physical ability and other types of challenges that folks may have. We want to make sure all are welcome in their experiences to welcome everyone to the state of Michigan across the state. And so as a state, there are many different offices and agencies that are committed to improving accessibility and making sure everyone has the ability to enjoy the beauty we have here, the experiences we have here. And right here in Lansing, for example, at Choose Lansing, Julie Pinkston, the CEO there of the tourism office here in Lansing, they've done a fantastic job of not only creating those physical experiences, like at Impression 5 or the Lansing River Trail or some of the wonderful things Michigan State University is doing, but they've added things like sensory-friendly performances at the Wharton Center, other things that are considering all audiences, and they invite families to come to those sensory-friendly experiences, and they've got a special room where they can, if they don't want to be part of the performance for a little while, they want to go find their own space, they can do that. And across the state, the Michigan State Parks, for example, they've really done a lot of investing in state parks to add things like track chairs for people who are in wheelchairs. There's a new bridge at Taquamanon Falls State Park that gives special access to an island that was only accessible by a rowboat for many years, and now everyone can go enjoy that area. So across the state, we are committed to making sure all are welcome and all are able to experience the beauty of pure Michigan.
I love it. You just rattle this stuff off. I mean, you can tell the passion that you have for the work that you do and the passion you have for Michigan. You're absolutely the perfect person for this position.
I appreciate that.
And the person I want at my kitchen table next time. But anyway, having said that too, let's talk about jobs a little bit.
Absolutely.
This industry, just like a lot of industries, are probably always looking for talent. So talk about talent and what are you seeing? Are there positions available? Should older, we have a program here called Experience for Hire, and we work with MBDC to help older adults who want to get back into the workplace. They have skill set, want to get back to the workplace, where they might have been a CPA, they may have been a teacher or whatever. And so we know that there's some shortage in terms of talent, here in Michigan, finding the talent that's needed. What about in this industry? What's happening with
the tourism industry supports more than 300,000 jobs across the state. And, that was one of the first jobs I had was, my first summer of college, I worked on Mackinac Island as a dock porter, and I greeted guests as they came off the ferry boats. And it really set me up with a career that I could later draw on those experiences in learning how to greet guests and be part of the hospitality industry. And I think it's an important gateway for a lot of young people to find a career that they love and enjoy. And I think when you talk about older adults, there's so many opportunities for retirees. Like if you go to Shepler's and you go to Mackinac Island Ferry, you'll see folks who are retired, who are there. They say, look, I want to be part of this industry. I want to greet people, meet people from all over the world. And hospitality and tourism allows them to do that. And so I think it's a wonderful opportunity for older adults to also be part of a wonderful industry and career.
Are you finding that young people are entering this career as well, entering
Absolutely.
The travel and tourism?
You know, we have wonderful universities across the state who have hospitality and tourism programs that really set people up for management and other types of careers, marketing, communications, so to really say, okay, not only did I participate in or join the hospitality industry as a manager or other types of people who are running hospitality organizations, but they help to promote tourism. You know, and you talk about talent in general. There are so many different ways that Pure Michigan as a brand has really established itself across the state and around the world, and it's really helped to lead people's awareness of the state of Michigan. We recently did a study this past year, called on an effect called the halo effect. And so what that is a general stat that was discovered is that around 67% of people who move to a new location, this is from U.S. Travel, did so after visiting first. So it all starts with a visit. And our study found that 58% of people who were aware of the Pure Michigan campaign strongly agreed that Michigan is a great place to live. Also, nearly 50% agree it would be a great place to get an education. So really, the awareness of the Pure Michigan campaign among people who visit has really helped to showcase the state as a place to live, work, and play.
You know what I love about this too is that it's not just corporations, it's not just those in the UK or Japan or wherever, but it's also the individuals visiting our state who live here. And then we are the greatest ambassadors, right?
That's right.
We tell other people, or tell our aunts or uncles, or just friends that we meet about places that we visited here. So we need both. We need both the individuals, the families, the communities going and doing things here. And then being an ambassador and talking about this great state and promoting it to other people as well. And it is just a beautiful, beautiful place. I want to talk a little bit about you, though, your passion for this work. How did you get involved, and what led you to do this work? Well, I know you talked about being on the dock at Shepler's.
Yeah, I think, you know, working for a couple of different hotels on Mackinac Island, Mission Point Resort, and then the Chippewa, it really introduced me to being part of an industry that really focuses on people. We create experiences. And it was always great to see if I was there the next year and someone came back and said, hey, we remember you from last year. Those types of things, and meeting people. And also, it was interesting working on Mackinac Island. We had a lot of international employees that were working in the hotels. We had a staff of Jamaican folks that worked with us at the Chippewa and Lilac Tree. And getting to know people from another culture was also a very interesting part about that. But talking about experiences and things that make people happy and helping them create those memories, it's a wonderful industry to be a part of.
Well, you talk about experiences. People like experiences more so than things.
Yes.
Your experience on Shepler's led you to being in this position today, just kind of opening that up. What are the high schools and colleges doing to help people get those? Are there internships available for people to experience? I mean, you just want more people in. You know, when I talk with a lot of young people, they want that experience. They're not just looking for a job. They want something a purpose that they can relate to. Same thing with older adults, something that can make a difference. So what really triggered you to make that difference? And was it the experience of just working with people? You've stayed in this position, in this profession, for how many years now? I
started working with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation in 2016, but I started working in the tourism hospitality industry in 2002. So I've been around for a while, and yes, I love to get out and experience new things myself. And it's also connecting with our partners around the state. We have convention and visitors bureaus all over the state who they focus on their local region. It might be Detroit, it might be the Western Upper Peninsula or the Keweenaw. They have specific knowledge about their region and their areas. And so connecting with those folks and learning from them, and also being there in person sometimes when I'm lucky, to discover those experiences, it is a very rewarding career, but also it does help us as a team at MEDC to talk about Michigan in a great way to help other people experience it too.
I love it. We've got about a minute left, and so for those of you who are listening, Pure Michigan, remember to go to the website, remember to talk to your friends and neighbors about Pure Michigan. What would you like to leave people with in the last 20 seconds or so we've got left?
discover something new. We talked about those hidden gems. I think go to Michigan.org. I once met a family who the father had seen a Pure Michigan commercial in Dallas, and he said, kids, go find something on Michigan.org and go see what this is like. We've never seen the Great Lakes. And he brought his family up there, and they explored Mackinac Island, Traverse City, and other areas in the state just because they went to Michigan.org. So do that and find something new.
I love it. And you're the best ambassador of all. Thank you for being
appreciate
here.
that.
Appreciate you. Thank you. Direct care workers, family caregivers. What are they? What do they do? And why do we need them so desperately? Thank you so much, Jen, for being here to talk with us about those.
Hi, yes, thank you for allowing me to be here. Direct care workers, it's a broad spectrum, right? Because a lot of times if we think of a direct care worker, we think of a certified nursing assistant. But that's not really the case, because there's a lot of people that work within other facilities, assisted living facilities, in-home care, that aren't certified. Family caregivers, they are all direct care workers, and a lot of times they don't see themselves as such. So it's important that we raise the awareness about what a direct care worker is, so that we can get those people involved and recognize them for the work that they do.
Absolutely. And Michigan is one of the fastest aging states in the nation. And so the older we get, the more we're going to depend on people to kind of give us some assistance, right? For whether it's a direct care worker or a family caregiver. What are some of the, what's some of the criteria that's needed for a direct care worker?
Training. Lots and lots of training. This is not a job that you can go into without proper training, because there's just a lot involved. You think about taking somebody to the bathroom, but it's more than just taking somebody to the bathroom. It's how they get there, what they can do for themselves, what they can't do for themselves. You got to know those things, and you got to be able to help them in the areas they can't do that. Same with bathing and all these other areas that we take care of people. And it's also, it's a broad spectrum. It can start with companionship, and it goes all the way to end of life.
And thank you so much for what you do and for bringing, shining a light on what family caregivers and direct care workers do. Thanks for being here, Jennifer.
Thank you.
We hear talk about estate planning all the time. David, thanks for being here today. What is an estate plan and what's in it?
Well, Paula, everybody thinks of an estate plan as a trust and a will, healthcare power of attorney, financial power of attorney, certificate of trust, assignment documents, blah, 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 a whole list of documents. An estate plan is really a state of mind. An estate plan is not just the documents. It's an ongoing, living thing. I can't tell you how many estate plans I get, which have obviously spent the last 30 years in the basement, because you can, it smells a little moldy. So an active engagement in your future is what an estate plan really is. I know, look, lawyers fail on this routinely. You get your documents. We have an ongoing program. We think it's important to maintain that ongoing involvement, and it should focus on you first. This is that elder law thing we talk about sometimes. If your estate plan is all about after you're dead, it's not a plan, because chances are you'll die broke anyway. If you plan for yourself, then there will be leftovers to get to the next generation. And how it gets to the next generation, again, often neglected, super important.
And just like you were saying, we were off camera, when you're on the airplane, you put on the oxygen mask, take care of yourself first. In your car, you put on the seat belt, same thing.
Sounds kind of selfish, doesn't it? Oh, I got to take care of myself. Yeah, but you're no good to anybody else unless you do that.
And that's what people need to make certain that they pay attention to. Take care of yourself. Thank
Exactly.
you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Paul.
Driving and giving up driving, if you've been independent all of your life, is very, very difficult. Thank you for being here to talk about modes of transportation. So tell us a little bit about how to make a decision about whether or not someone should be giving up driving, or a loved one in particular.
That conversation is a very difficult conversation to have. I've had it with my own mother, and she is still driving and almost 90. But oftentimes we find that in a third-party trusted person is the best one to have that conversation with your loved one, such as a physician. And a lot of that can be dependent on how the driver is able to actually conduct the driving experience. The thing about CATA is that we don't want to take away the access to freedom and independence, and so that's what we provide. We remove that barrier and allow the driver to continue to have access to services, go to medical appointments, visit with family and friends, so that that quality of life continues to be available to them.
And that's so important. And it's not about going to a bus stop and getting on a CATA bus. There are other options for people that are a bit more private, and they should explore those options.
That's correct. We do have several demand response, curb-to-curb services that are scheduled in advance for drivers to take advantage of.
And do people need to qualify in order to take advantage of those, or if you just call, or what's the process?
For SpecTran, they would need to qualify, and there is an application process to that, and that application is available at cata.org/SpecTran. It is reviewed by an independent third party, and that is Disability Network, Capital Area.
Good organization, yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Lauren Kaler. I'm a physician assistant at Great Lakes Center of Rheumatology, and I'm here today to talk about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is, what is it? So kind of as the name suggests, it's a fat buildup inside of the liver that's not caused by alcohol. It's very common, especially in Western nations, and it affects up to 1/4 of the population, and it is the most common cause of chronic liver disease. As far as signs and symptoms of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, there really aren't any, so it's pretty much asymptomatic. If symptoms do develop, they're kind of nonspecific. Fatigue is a big one, and sometimes some mild pain in the upper right quadrant of the abdomen. As far as what causes it, we don't really know, but there's some things that are linked to it. Being overweight or obese is one, having diabetes or insulin resistance is another, and elevated high triglycerides would be the third kind of link that we're seeing as far as causes of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. How do we diagnose it? So the first thing is labs. If there are elevated liver function tests, or LFTs, those are ALT and AST, they're present on a complete metabolic panel, that would kind of be indicative of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. After that, we usually will order a ultrasound to take a closer look at the abdomen and the liver. And sometimes if that's not diagnostic enough, a biopsy can be done, but that's very rarely done. How do we prevent it? How do we treat it? So prevention and treatment kind of go hand in hand. The biggest thing is to lead a healthy lifestyle, exercise, good diet, and then losing weight is another big one, as well as taking care of any underlying conditions. So if you have high cholesterol, making sure that gets treated. If you have diabetes, making sure that gets treated. And just make sure overall you're leading a healthy lifestyle. If you feel like you may have some of these signs or symptoms of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, make sure to see your provider, and they can get you evaluated and treated if needed. Thank you.
Don't you just love being here in Michigan? And don't you just love AARP Real Possibilities? So much information and news that you can use. Thanks for watching Real Possibilities.